Hi everyone. I'm going to do a lockup on this Dizzy here, and I kind of looked and I didn't really see too many clear things of how it should be done, so I'm just going to take a few shots here and share them with you. Maybe someone sometime can use them. If not, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to weld a little tab right on top here, just to keep it from moving, and then if I decide I don't like it, I'll just grind them off, and it'll be just like downtown. Okay, I'm not going to run my camera while I weld them or anything. It's throwing sparks and whatever, so I'll turn it back on later. There we go, just a little tab on each one. There's not very much weld there. A little bit. If I don't like it, I'll just take the top off and it'll move freely in the slot again. So that should be it for that. There's something that really impressed me about this distributor drive is the shaft is actually knurled. Like it'll last forever, that shaft. I mean, it should never wear out, and it takes oil up to the bushing there. We used to do that in the old Chevy V8s. The valve guides in that wore out in them so bad all the time. If you knurl them, they last for years and years and years because it can get just that little film of oil up in top there. So that's just something that I noticed, and I thought I would comment on it. That's pretty impressive for Mazda. Okay, so I'll put the spur back on. And then I'll put the pin in. There's a tiny little hole there you can see. There's a pin goes in there. So when you're taking this stuff apart, maybe I never took a shot of anything taking it apart, so this should do the same deal. There he is, he's in place. When you take them out, you can drive them right down through the bottom. Just make sure you got something smaller than the hole so don't get stuck. Okay, so the vacuum advances go back in like so. The one sits over the pin like that. And the other dude slides in there and just kind of hooks in behind like so. Okay. So it's pretty simple, that part. And I'll just stick the screws in here to hold it in place. This one here, of course, is the trailing, I guess, and it does have adjustment there for changing your timing on the trailing ignition, but I don't use it, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got all that stuff back into place. As far as the trailing, I did put them back right where they were. You can see where the screws were when they're out. These damn Phillips screws, the guy that made them, well, whatever. Pretty useless screw actually, so long as I guess they're okay if they're not tight. I forget where I read it. Somewhere I read that the Robertson screw was voted one of the best things in America. Was supposed to be the Robertson screw, and I almost agree with it. These damn things, half the time the heads are half stripped out of them before you even try to take them apart. Okay, there's two more screws down in the bottom here. One right there. See it? It's right on the edge of the plate. And there's another one over here, right on the edge of this plate. That just holds everything in place, and they have to come out to take stuff apart. That's the only reason I'm mentioning them. Okay, we're almost done here. I put a little luber plate on that shaft before I put it back in, just so it has something there. It'll be good for another 30 years. It's my setup for what I plug into. I've actually tried them both ways. I've tried them reversed, and I've tried them the correct way, and there is a difference. I don't know enough about them to be able to explain it, but I know when you reverse the plug, things run different. So it does change the timing a certain amount. It might make it go the opposite way or something, I'm not sure, but I know it makes a difference anyway. Okay. Just a few more pieces. The bottom gear. The springs I've taken out. They're laying there. The advanced springs. Just a pin for my gear, which is there. And that'll be about the end of the game, I guess. I won't be able to play anymore. Okay. The only thing about this, and there's your pin there. There is a little spacer washer here, so when you take it apart, don't lose it. It tends to stick to the gear and then fall off. Don't forget to put it back in. Okay, now there's a notch or a dot right there. My knobby finger out of the way. Right there. And of course the piece on the dizzy, the little notch or the bump on the dizzy. You'll find that the gear can go on half a turn out, and I don't think I've been told, and I'm sure it doesn't matter. But if you get everything lined up properly when you put the damn thing together, you'll find that it's lined right up perfect if that dot and pointer line up before you stab it in. You can say it probably don't matter. There's nothing on the other side, right? On this side here there is. So, something to think about. It's there for a reason. You might as well put it where it's supposed to be. Okay, just a bit of an update on on the Dragon here. There's a few things different that I've done. Of course, the first year, this is the third year. The first year I just did a mock-up and got the engine running and whatnot. Second year, things went really well actually. I was quite satisfied with things. Happy with the way it worked. And this last winter I took my other engine, totally rebuilt it. There's no big pieces, just I replaced all the consumables that are inside that engine. I replaced, I guess. It was right around, by the time I was done, it was about $1,075 for all the pieces that went into it. Of course, there's the 500 Ollie. 2 vacuum gauges ordered. One for this nozzle here, The other one for this nozzle right here. That way I'll tune each side of the carb separately. Hopefully I can get them the same. Different front wheel. That's a solid wheel off of a V-rod. All I did to make it fit, so you can see, yeah, there's a bushing in here, a brass bushing with a lip on it. I made this to fit inside the 1-inch bearings. These V-rods, well, most Harleys now run 1-inch shaft for axles. So I built these bushings so that I can use the original axle bolt, and I can take my other Honda Sabre wheel, just pull the axle out and stick the other one on, and then it has front brakes and whatnot too. Right now I choose not to use them. Pretty dangerous for what I'm doing. There's no need for front brakes on this bike. It's just it's more of a hindrance than anything. Different tire too. I went and got this little guy. He's a 70 by 100 by 19. Just something to keep him stable and hold him straight. It's also a Kenda Millville. That's all I've been running so far. It's a place in Saskatoon. Actually, I've been in there, bought lots of parts from them. I didn't even have to ask them. I know one of the guys there a little bit, and they offered to supply me with tires and drive belts. So I'll stick their name on the Dragon somewhere, and I really appreciate them doing that. It's Rec Supply in Saskatoon. Good bunch of guys, and they spend a lot of time helping me figure out what I need, and brake lines and whatnot. Clean things up a little bit. Tried to get my wiring and that cleaned up a tad. It's hard to do sometimes, eh? I guess the further excuse me, the further on that you get with a build like this, once you get all the main things done, then you start picking apart all the ugly little shit that's hanging on it. And these, for one thing, I can't stand looking at them anymore. They're there just to so I could test it for water leakage and whatever. I'm going to get something that looks a little better on it. Use that. Of course, there's my oil gauge. I had that on there last year. I did mod my my relief valve, so we'll see what happens. I hope I don't have to take the pan back off and rework anything, but I think it'll be fine. The filler, I didn't want it sticking away up like the stock ones are, so actually all I did was cut a couple inches out of the center of the tube, welded it back together. Now it's down there nice and low out of the way. It's just, actually you can see it's just below the dipstick. Tack. That tack, I'm surprised it stood up last summer. It took the year quite well. Not that I used it lots, but they did warranty it, and the guy told me no questions. So I'm surprised that I didn't have to take it back. I did buy a new battery. I haven't got a cover made for it yet, but I was going to buy a gel battery and blah blah blah, but they're pretty expensive, and when I went in to buy this, the guy told me, he said there's a 3-year, no questions asked warranty, as long as it's not beat up or broke, so can't lose really with that. Actually, I bought it at Walmart. There's lots of weight to it too. There must be quite a bit inside of it, so it turns it over really nice. It's 650 cold cranking amps. It's called a Max MAXX 51M. Changed my drive belts. We got bigger and thicker and wider, and A little tougher maybe. It doesn't slip like the other one did. These are a nice deal. The team clutch. You can run a bolt into here, spreads the clutch apart, and you don't have to fight when you change belts or anything. You just slip them on and then just back the bolt back out. This other one here actually adjusts the width of the clutch for different widths of belts. Good setup. I really like it. After I put this one on, of course last year I blew the other one all to hell, but this one here, he seems to be pretty tough, and he stood up. Never had any complaints out of it yet. Brakes, back brakes. I made lots of stuff for it. The disc that I built is just, I guess I do have a bit of a film up on it, or movie or whatever, video. It's just a 42 sprocket, a 72 tooth, number 40 chain sprocket. Calipers, it's a double, actually it's a 4-piston Harley caliper. The brake lines are all soft line. Those bastards cost me $145 to get from back here up to the handlebars. A couple connectors, but I like them. They're probably worth it in the long run. By the time I bought all the fittings and everything for it, new washers, new bolts and whatever, yeah, it got up there pretty good. But of course I built the aluminum bracket to mount it on, and it just sits on the axle shaft here. Then I have a couple, they're just collar spacers, just to keep it from sitting crooked on the disc. When you apply the brakes, some of them want to kind of twist to the side a bit. So that's done. This is a Kenda mill though. This is a sticky, this one. I guess you can't buy the stickies anymore. They're a little bit softer. She really ripped the treads off her last year. This is the second tire. I burned one up last year, and this is the second one I put on. But I got it so that it's, the aggressive side is going into the ground, so she should really grab to start with. I'll have to be careful with it. Chain, I just run cheap number 50 chain. Take it out and throw it away once in a while and put on a new one. It's cost me, well, I don't know, $40 or $45 to change it over. O-ring chains, they're fine, but this is no place for them. There's no guides or idlers or anything on this. It just, well, of course there's a angle iron here just to keep it from hitting the battery or whatever, but I don't have any tensioners or anything on it. I'll just let the torque and the weight of the bike and that take care of that, I think. Painted it, of course. It was black last year. Got tired of looking at it, so. New water pump. Seems like everyone I touch needs a water pump, which is fine. They're not that much money. And your bump start, you mentioned to me once before that I should be running a second V-belt just to baby my water pump if I lose my alternator belt. Well, I couldn't really find one in this bloody country that would work, but I went and I got a big 3/8 O-ring, and he's stretched on there with quite a bit of tension. And we'll see what happens with it. If he burns up, I'll hunt and try to find another belt or whatever, but I think it'll be just fine. All it is just to run the pump if the damn belt breaks, and I mean I'll be shutting it down right away anyway, so it's really not an issue. Of course the Dizzy's out because I just done that mod to it. I haven't found anything better for a filter yet either. I don't know what to do with that. I really don't like them. I don't think they're half what they're cracked up to be, but probably a little more volume than a lot of them. I filled it with water. I ended up no leaks that I could see. I did dry fire it here the other day, but it gets so damn stinky in here, you know, you can smell it for a bloody week. So enough of that until I get it outside. All I did was just poured some gas in the car, but I never filled the tanks or anything. Of course, the back wheel is a V-rod too. I bought both of those wheels from a guy in Saskatoon. He bought them for a project, and I don't know if he got tired of working on it or what, but I bought those wheels for $100 a piece. Pretty good deal as far as I'm concerned. My one bearing, I think it was the one on the other side actually, that one over in there. You can just see the back of it where the red line is. I broke a ear off one of them. When I took it apart, it was just fell out. The bolt was still holding everything in place, but it was broke. So I don't know if I tightened it up poorly or what happened, but anyway, it was. So I bought another one, an extra one now. I've got a spare. My bleeder for air that might get in up in this high spot here. It's fairly high compared to the rest. So I just bleed the air out if it's necessary. And this is my front brake, or my rear brake, I mean, right on the handlebar. There's the other end of my lines. I had to buy 2 lines, of course, to get up here. It's further than you think it is. And it's just a flex line. Guaranteed forever until it breaks. Both my fans, they do a nice job. They're not the prettiest things in the world, but they work really well. It runs no problem with overheating, anything like that. Okay, there you go. So I'll be waiting here for, oh Christ, it's going to be 3 weeks before it dries up in this country. There's snow, more snow than I've ever seen. I've lived in Broderick here for, Christ, 23 or 24 years. Never seen anything like it. There's, well, I'll show you. I have taken my snowblower and blew off part of my lawn. That bank there is 3 feet high, 3 feet deep. It's just in the middle of my yard. Stuff back there is in behind my forklift. There's 4 or 5 feet of snow back there. It's just crazy everywhere. This whole country's just overloaded with snow this year. We're going to have a lot of problems with runoff and whatever. This bank right here is, it's as tall as I am. And my work truck sitting out here comes up, well, this is melted a lot. Hell, it was 1.5 feet taller than the box of my truck. My neighbor's over here, he's got lots too. Snowbanks on the other side of the road are 5 feet high. And of course there's, I don't know if you can see them down there, they've been pushed up off the street. There was 3 feet of snow all over on the street, and we had to do something, so I just went and got the town tractor and pushed it all back up with the hell out of the way, but it's going to take forever to melt. Not that anybody gives a shit, but there you go.